What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Industry Executive Summary. This is Casey, and back from business, the businessman himself, Manu Rosier, is with us today. And then, of course, the dashing Dave Fear, with a fixed camera.
With a fixed camera, yeah. I gave it to Vitaly, and he apparently fixed it. He's not a camera technician. He's a composer. If anyone needs a composer, by the way, Vitaly is an excellent composer. But apparently this is one of his skills.
Magically fixes cameras.
Yeah.
Who would have known? Like, turn it off and turn it on again. That works, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Never heard that one before.
Yes. Manu, how have you been? It's been a while.
A bit busy, yes, with work and with family, but all good, all good. Looking forward to the Christmas break, 3 weeks from now.
Cool.
Like many people, I guess.
How about you, Dave?
Yeah, same basic situation. Getting a big report finished up today. My wife is doing the formatting and all that, which is always a fun collaboration to have, and settling in for the cozy season. We just bought an IKEA Hemnes guest bed, so I can have a friend over for Christmas, which will be pleasing.
Okay.
Yeah. And you always ask us.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you always ask us both, but we don't ask you. How are you doing? What's up?
I was gonna say I don't matter.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm doing good, thank you.
Yeah.
Still a lot of cool progress on Elden Ring. I still have that. What is that game called again? The Fantasio game.
Metaphor Re-Fantasio.
Thank you. Ooh,
And
that's an Elden Ring thing.
Yeah, that's right. Turtle Pope.
Yeah.
What's up, Turtle Pope?
Yep.
I mean, I guess I didn't know they were making a Turtle Pope stuffy, but I don't know why I'm even remotely surprised.
I need to check.
Is it official
now. Do I need to buy this now, or what's going on?
You told. Wait, you've not seen everything. The moment.
I thought he was going to say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but okay. What's going on? Turned off your camera.
Yeah, he's disappeared entirely.
Wow. Okay, I feel like something cool. What's going on? What's this? Lena figurine.
Very cool.
And this is not a pop thing, right?
Sort of.
Oh, yeah, one more. Who's that? We can't. Is that Iron Fist?
Iron
Fist Alexander. Yeah.
Nice. Wait a second. What are you getting all this stuff?
I'm not making any commercial, but it's just through my son, because my son has the good idea to follow influencers and YouTube channels, and he always come with ideas of toys that are unavailable in Europe most of the time. So it's always a school. But in this case, I know that brand that I'm not gonna name. You can reach me if you want to know. And they also do some Elden Ring stuff that usually they do pre-orders, and everything is out of stock very quickly. So I thought I will take anything Elden Ring that they are producing.
Okay, so I just noticed on Amazon there is so this brand you're using is called U2s. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so is this licensed?
Yes.
All right.
Huh.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I just found the plushie as well.
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to check it out, and you'll have to probably send us links or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be appreciated. That's fun. That was unexpected.
Yeah, I'm reading this PC Gamer article. It says there are also a couple of less cuddly Elden Ring items available, such as a statue of Iron Fist Alexander or Melina. So you got it all.
Yes, exactly. So far. I'm looking for the next drop.
Dave, I have to comment again. Your camera quality is amazing.
Yeah, I guess there were just some settings that I needed to mess with, or that someone needed to mess with.
Even the light in the background, like everything.
Perfect. And it's not like there's a huge amount of not any more natural light streaming in here than usual. So
awesome, guys! I want to mention some important dates. Let me just check my notes. Okay, December 19th, last podcast for the year, and then of course you're both okay with that. We're gonna try and make it a special in some case. If I can push you to do 2 hours, we'll see if that is possible or not. But I was thinking we need to probably maybe wrap up the year in some shape or form.
Yeah, I can hardly remember last January. I suppose it happened. Probably some things happened in there. I didn't even know you guys at the time.
I feel like I know nothing about what released the first half of this year. For me, it's been an Elden Ring year.
An Elden year.
An Elden year, thank you. And then we have the first podcast of 2025 will be on January 9th. Or I guess it's 10th when it's released. So that's kind of like, some important dates for those who are listening. Gentlemen, do we want to dive into the news?
Let's see what the news has in store.
And maybe this week, Manu can reveal. Like,
I remember you watching us, but we're always like, I don't know, this looks like a video game.
What was the trouble last time?
I can't remember.
I'll have to open it, actually. I do want to talk about some cool... Let's see what we had last time. Oh, by the way, I'll give a note while I'm looking for it. The Guys Monthly, we posted that on the 26th, which was, I think, Tuesday. Really cool insights, and I mean, I love Dave's writing. So for those who haven't seen it, I would highly recommend going and reading the monthly.
I would too. Casey, you're in there as well.
I am in there. Thanks to you. Just to be, I mean, I'm one of those people who is completely transparent. This guy makes me look good, just so you know. Like, I wrote some trash, and then he just, like, took up the pieces, like, okay, how can I make this make sense?
It still worked. I remember I had a writing professor that said, when someone compliments you on something you never wrote, you know what you say? Thank you.
Yep. Let me see here. From last week, stuff that was confusing to us. Like, there's this Half-Life 2 push Steam on the game masses, and then Valve went bankrupt. We were trying to understand, like, why did you talk about these, or why was that important for you to put in the trends as an example?
Because I like to look back in the mirror, right? These are retrospective news, like from what happened 15 years ago, and that it was very close to a completely different video game industry landscape. If this thing would have not happened. Imagine, I think, Vivendi Universal purchasing Valve, for example. Well, the world wouldn't be the same.
Yep.
You always wonder if someone else would have taken the mantle, or if this was actually unique to Gabe.
Guys, based on what you just said, Manu, I feel like if the universe was different and we did not have a Steam, imagine how further along would indie games have lagged behind in terms of being able to do self-publishing.
Yeah, well, because I remember, there was the time when it was so dominated by Xbox Live. That was sort of the place to go for indie games in sort of the late 2000s. And which is a totally different thing because it is still ultimately under the aegis of Microsoft, which is very different from being under the aegis of Valve.
Are there any comments from you, by the way, Manu, on, I think the biggest item probably on that list from last week would probably be about, like, maybe Sony trying to buy Kadokawa? Any things about that you want to add?
I'm not happy. I mean, I like diversity, and I don't like exclusive and things like that. So there must be a reason, because that company, so that umbrella company is not just video game, right? Far from it. So I'm like, how many synergies are there besides just video games? And what would be the size of the share of video games within this whole deal? But yeah, it's a bit surprising, because we also saw a few weeks ago that this company was trying to publish games, or to become a publisher on top of just building the games. So like, now they would partner with Sony. I'm not sure I'm following the thread.
Maybe they looked at the numbers of trying to become a video game publisher and decided to just sell.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
And I think Elden Ring, like, if I remember correctly from that article, stood for like 20-30% of their total business. And maybe last year or 2 years ago, it was 50% or something like that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we move on to this week, and maybe we'll make more sense out of what's on the news?
I think so.
Okay.
50% more knowledge.
Yes, please. Let's move over to the highlights then, my friends. Number one item on the list. Hasbro's gamer CEO focuses on play after film business sale. So my takeaway, I assume, from just reading that, haven't read the story, of course, is that Hasbro is selling their movie business or a film business and focusing on games.
That seems like a good one. I mean, they didn't make Barbie, did they? They just licensed it.
Yeah, the idea. I mean, it resonates to what we have seen in the past, what we've mentioned a few times, like games companies like Hasbro, like Mattel, toy companies, games companies. They are like they now see the full potential of video games. They were probably more focused on movies in the past, but now they see that the video games actually where the money is being made. So I think they are reshuffling their investment to be more present in video games. And like Dungeon and Dragon, there was this movie which was actually not a bad movie, but didn't meet its audience. While if you make a Dungeon and Dragon game, you have probably more chances of success.
Yeah, I wonder, I would be very curious to see the budgets of Baldur's Gate 3 up next to Dungeons and Dragons movie. And I think it'd be pretty clear where the money is.
Yeah.
Also, I'm interested with the Pokemon. Sorry.
No, I'm saying they have the Monopoly Go app game.
Oh yeah. Oh, right. Forgot about that.
A lot of revenue just coming in like basically just by licensing, also in some cases.
Yeah. Also, with the Pokemon TCG Pocket, I bet they're looking at that and wondering why they don't have something akin to that for Magic, because the Magic Arena is just Magic. It's just the game, full fat.
Yeah.
Whereas the Pokemon Pocket thing is kind of cut down in pocket size.
Yeah, and you have to wonder why they allowed oh my god, the Blizzard game, Hearthstone, to become the #1 card game in video games, why they have been the #1 board game with Magic the Gathering, right? So that's a huge missed opportunity that we're not able to offer a game, or to be the first, right? Somehow.
That's often how it goes. I feel like the first people they kind of figure they know what's going on, and then someone else scoops them.
Yeah.
It's
so the trend. This is just confirming what we've been saying. I like when people confirm what we've been saying for some time.
There is something that is seems like the CEO of Hasbro seems to be a gamer or somebody who really appreciates games as well, and we have seen them as a company with maybe a subsidiary. I hope is Spin Master a different company, by the way?
Let's see.
Or is that part of Hasbro as well?
Good question.
I feel so stupid right now.
I'm looking. I feel
like I should be knowing this.
I don't think they have a parent company here. The Spin Master is a public company in and of itself.
Okay, there you go then. I thought they were connected in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. But it's interesting, I guess, just to go back then and say that his background is from Wizards of the Coast, and then coming into Hasbro now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how much impact that has in terms of strategy and I guess focus. And reading this, additional focus on games. Okay, gentlemen, anything else on this, or should I move on?
Move on.
Okay, then the second item on the highlights this week. And I think I asked you this before, like, will we ever see a ceiling? But anyways, I'll ask it again soon. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 had the biggest launch month in Call of Duty history. I always knew, and we always knew, that Black Ops is one of the biggest brands, together with Modern Warfare. But it was always a question lingering, like, where is the ceiling for Call of Duty?
Yeah, I think Call of Duty is a bit like EAFC and some other games. It's like they are here every year, so we kind of forget to talk about them. But to be successful year after year after year with a full price premium game, it's quite an achievement, right? It cannot be just explained because players and veterans are just buying without thinking. Every year they have to convince a share of the audience to buy the game again. And I think this year it's a very good game. The single player campaign is also very good. The zombie mode, I believe, it's like back to the roots, and it's also quite good. And the multiplayer is fine, right? I mean, the quality is there, and as long as you have that quality, you kill the competition, because there is no reason to move away from Call of Duty if they keep with the same quality.
Yeah, and I think you see a little bit of kind of what happened last year into this year is that like Manu said, you do have to convince people. And last year they didn't really. And I think that also, like this year, obviously they did it right. They made a good campaign, which it's funny that not as many people play the campaign, but I always stand by the fact that it anchors the premium release. It's what makes it into a premium release, and kind of always has. And I think you definitely saw some pent up demand as well. That a lot of people were like, I skipped it last year, but this year's looking good. I'll take it.
And these numbers are more about players playing, right? It's not about revenue, because revenue, there is a significant shift of Xbox players towards the subscription, the Game Pass, rather than the game. So we see a relative drop in the absolute revenue, like dedicated revenue on Xbox, because it's shifting to Game Pass and it's kind of diluted. But
gotcha.
I think we also saw record subscription for Game Pass at the launch of Call of Duty.
Yeah. So, I think they were also saying like it was like upwards of 50% of PS5 players were playing Call of Duty, like in the week it came out.
Wow. I have to ask you two questions here. Number one, how big of an impact do you think? Like, I don't know if you want to throw a number, like a percentage or whatever. How big of an impact did Xbox, or rather, Call of Duty being free on Game Pass for that game and franchise? Maybe, I'm not sure. Game. Let's just go with the game. How big of an impact do you think, from a player perspective, did they achieve?
I have the numbers, but I cannot share them. But it's let's say that all in all is net positive on Xbox for sure, and there is no cannibalization from other platform to Xbox. So I don't think that Xbox would get PlayStation players, right? I don't think players will move from ecosystem. And on PC, I think that the Steam numbers, when you look at this is public information, where you see the concurrent player on SteamDB, it's high this year on PC, higher than last year, despite having the game also kind of free on PC Game Pass. If you see,
yeah, that's interesting.
The Steam players are not really shifting for many good and less good reason to Game Pass on PC. If you look at the map, you see it's not to the level of last year, but 2 years ago, because 2 years ago it was also the launch of Warzone, like 1 month after the launch of the premium game. But compared to last year, you see the bump, right?
Yep, of course.
Like, tripling concurrent players.
That's super interesting. Yeah, I just downloaded on Game Pass actually, because I was like, oh yeah, I should do that. And it's an interesting little thing that happens. You click install, and then you have to install 16 gigabytes of Call of Duty base game, and then you just kind of select from a menu of all the modes of Modern Warfare and Black Ops, and you're like, I want Black Ops campaign, Modern Warfare multiplayer, whatever.
I think that if you are kind of a power user or a power player of Call of Duty, you just buy it. You're gonna play all year long. It's cheaper to buy it than to have a 12-month subscription. And at the same time, on PC, at least the Windows Store and the Xbox Store is still not on par with the friendliness of Steam, and it's just it's so much more user friendly as of today to buy a game on Steam and install it and tweak it, rather than going through the Windows Store and the Game Pass.
Okay, I'll leave you with one last question on this specific topic. Then, is there anybody out there who can touch Call of Duty in the short term?
Maybe the next Battlefield. I mean, it happened once when Battlefield 1 was launched, and at the same time, it was a very weak Call of Duty. I think it was Infinite.
Infinite, yes.
It's probably one of the worst Call of Duty in recent years. So it was a perfect storm for Battlefield.
Yeah, but also, it just depends on how you define it, right? Fortnite. That's still a shooter. PUBG is a military shooter, even. Like those, and it's. I don't think anything's going to touch it, making a game in the mold that we become accustomed to. But that doesn't mean things, things will not compete with it.
But would someone come and take the share of Call of Duty when it comes to like close quarter, 6v6, PvP? No, probably no.
Yeah.
No.
That's the bread and butter that they will forever own, I guess. Yeah. Games that would be interesting to see, and I don't think we can have numbers for these. Tarkov is an example of a game I would love to see. Is there any impact on it at all? Or let's say, actually, we can see this, which is, I guess, Apex is a good one. Now, obviously, looking at the SteamDB, Apex is still like top 5 game on Steam.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. I want to look at this quickly, please. 3 months. So, did Call of Duty launch in November? October-ish this year?
Yes, 25th.
Okay. Well, interesting enough, November 4th, Apex number is almost doubled-ish.
This must be a new season.
Could be, yeah. So it does seem like there's no impact, quote unquote, no impact.
I think also because they launched a premium game with limited content for the battle royale for Warzone, right? And Warzone is the overlap with Apex more than the premium PvP Call of Duty. So I think it has a limited impact. But the zombie mode might have an impact on all these PvE survival games, like Back 4 Dead or all these games where
the Warhammer games, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happen.
Yeah. Maybe even Arrowhead, Helldivers. Okay, interesting, cool. I'll move over to the next item, my friends. And in the news, Balatro's mobile release has managed the almost impossible task of knocking Minecraft from its long-maintained top spot on the charts.
Well,
yes, Balatro, remember?
Yes, now I'm familiar with Balatro and know what that is. Yes.
Yeah. At a certain point, the only way that we get new people buying Minecraft is new human beings being born. So, which obviously there's a lot of people playing Minecraft, but
it's a paid app, right? It's very unusual on mobile.
Yeah.
So maybe it leads the way, and it's true that it's a very good. It's perfect for mobile play because it's a card game basically in the same way that Slay the Spire or some other games are also card games, and it's good.
It's a paid game, by the way, right? It's a paid it's a premium product on mobile.
Yes, $10 premium. So I don't know how premium it is, but yes, it's not free. And I think maybe when some indie developers see that, they might think that they should focus on a mobile version of their game before their PC version. That's also awesome.
Yeah, well, it just depends on the game because, like you said, that's really well geared towards it. I think.
Yeah,
and if you want to distill it for me, why? Well, we know that Balatro was successful on PC. Is it it's not an automatic check mark that you're also going to be successful on other platforms. But can we point to anything that says this is why Balatro was also successful on mobile?
Well, again, it's a card game. You can play the interface. You can play with your fingers, right? You don't need a keyboard and mouse. You just need a mouse. You just need to click on the screen.
Yeah.
That from an interface standpoint, it's already easier. It's kind of a board game, so you have a view from the top-down view. I think it's also help for mobile. And the game has just been nominated as one of the Game of the Year award, right? So I guess it has good, and it's just critically acclaimed. So it worked. I think it's already the resolution is already so low on PC, like almost too low. Pixels are very big. You're like, well, then it's fine on a mobile screen. You with your finger, you don't have like very small icons to push. So it's very easy to play, I think. Mobile.
Thank you for that explanation, Manu. I'll move over to the next item, my friends. This item, Mythical Games and FIFA team up to bring new football arcade game FIFA Rivals to mobile users worldwide. Do we know what FIFA Rivals is?
Well, if on the link you don't see that much. I don't know if it's about playing the game or just managing and having like building your team and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
And this is mobile focused.
It's a Web3 game also.
Oh, good lord, one of those.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, because I don't think we've seen. I think there is kind of a lack of like less simulation sports titles out there right now. So I'd be curious to see people playing around with it. It doesn't look like that's what this is though.
And they've done other Rivals game, right? I'm just checking. That's what they are mentioning.
I was just going to try and understand what is a Rivals game then. Let me see here. Okay, there's a NFL Rivals game, so maybe that we can learn more about that. Let's see. Okay,
there's a car like Need for Speed type of game also, where it's because it's Web3, it's a lot about collecting stuff, right? Collecting characters, so it is perfect fit for FIFA.
I am trying to skip these ads, but I seem like I used to be logged in, but for whatever reason I'm not logged in anymore.
I'm just curious, given or why can I say, like the FIFA brand, it's kind of a very famous brand, usually not at the top of innovation or technology, and here they kind of partnering with a studio, with a publisher that's more into, I don't know, next step in gaming or in collection. So I'm curious to see.
I think generally speaking, the wider business world just gets excited, or either gets excited or got excited about NFTs and Web3, and it was easier to convince people to make stuff like that for a little bit. Not anymore.
Well, I mean, they are making a resurgence to a certain extent, but yes, agreed. So, how close is this to what EA is doing in terms of card collection and loot boxes and all that stuff?
EAFC is about playing games, right? The main goal is to play goals, and then the collecting part is just you want to get the good players because you want to win and to be helped with that more than just purely collecting, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's the main driver for playing. So I think it's quite different. But that's why I was asking. I'm not sure what's going to be the actual gameplay. Is it just gonna be collecting cards? Is it just gonna be like a board game type of FIFA or football? So I don't know what's the gameplay basically. I just know that they're gonna go heavy on collection and maybe not loot boxes, but something similar, and then collect your players and
So another FIFA question: FC. When did EA move away from the FIFA brand on their football game? Was that like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Last year.
Yeah.
Last year was the first
last year. Right?
Okay, I think that was the first one. It was called FC. Yeah, because the big fight was the
2-3 years ago.
The fight was the year. Well, I think you're remembering that because that's when the big fight with FIFA was.
So has there been? Sorry, Dave. Has there been any impact at all on the football game FC as it's known today, in terms of, I guess, that split?
No.
No negative impact.
Which is, I think it's an interesting example of a sort of a clean brand transition. You know, I'm curious to see that case study in like 5 years.
Yes, and I'm trying to understand right now, or based on today's conversation, obviously FIFA's trying to find other avenues and partners to work with, but it's gonna. What's interesting for me is like, are both winners based on the split? I'm not sure how big that FIFA license was in terms of fees.
I don't see what FIFA has won from this. FIFA has lost a source of revenue.
Yeah.
That's pure.
Yeah, I feel like they've won the right to make an unsuccessful football game.
It's money going from FIFA's pocket back to EA's pocket. That's just So that's why FIFA is partnering. But there were also some rumors about a football soccer game from 2K. But there's also rumors of cancellation of that game, so there might not be like a AAA competitor, AAA HD competitor coming anytime soon. Now FIFA is like, we can do mobile and see what happens.
Okay, I'm sorry about the ruckus in the background. The kids just came home. I'll try and find a way to close the door. But okay, I'll move over to the next item, my friends. Thank you. The next item on the list, exclusive Sniper Elite's Battle Royale game has been cancelled as Tencent pulls funding. We've seen a lot of moves by Tencent, and like maybe generally speaking, because of how the funding of games has gone the past year or so. But would love to hear what you have to say about this.
I think there are 3 news that are about cancellation. If you look, there's the game from Casey Hudson also being cancelled, and then there is the above, yeah, and then the Mortal Kombat 1 DLC also being cancelled. So I think what might be happening, is that some people they kind of fund it. They kind of get the funding to build triple experience like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when it was this whole hype about video games and then new IPs and stuff like that. And after a few years, they've been developing the games, and then they come to a point where they are reaching a gate. It's like, how is the game looking? Well, we are not there, and then it's like, okay, we're cutting the fund and we're canceling that. I think it might not be the only one that doesn't survive, because I guess the investors, they're like, we've invested so much money in the past 2 years on that game. We see all the big failures on the market. We're like, if we are not really sure that it's going to be a hit, then we stop it. And then we go and we do something else.
I want to say
like
something.
This is kind of downstream of Concord. Sorry, continue.
No, I was going to say, Dave, I want you to continue there on that specific what you just mentioned. Live services are dead. Long live live service.
Yeah, chasing after live service. I talked a little bit about the monthly, which I think is, but it's that there was this idea that for a while people were making money off live service games, and then the idea was, well, everyone can make money off live service games. Everyone tried, and now I think people are realizing that actually there's a real cost to being a trend chaser, and that the people that are doing it well, and they know what's going on. It doesn't mean that new live service games won't happen and won't succeed, but it's just really tough. It's always, and all these things. Battle Royale is a good example. Like it's always going to be a bad idea to make something because you think that a Battle Royale will sell, or even because you think a live service will sell. It's a bad starting place. You can kind of think about those things later, but you've seen a lot of games that seemed like they came from a nascent point of trend chasing, and that's always going to cause trouble.
Yeah. And speaking of Tencent, I agree that it's not always clear to understand what is their strategy or how their strategy is evolving. And I just put a link if you can open it on the chat.
Let me find that link. Here we go. So this link is about Horizon Zero Dawn. Give me a second here. There's a clone? Wait a second. This is going to be... I'm trying to read and find the button to share and all that stuff. Where is it? Is it that one? Is this that one? So what are we looking at, my friend? Horizon Zero Dawn clone, Light of Motiram, announced for PC.
Motiram feels like a AI generated name.
What the hell is... Wait a second. Sorry. Sorry, Manu. Apologies to both of you. What the hell am I looking at? Because this looks like Horizon Zero Dawn.
You are looking, my friend, at Light of Motiram. That's what you're looking at.
No. This is Horizon Zero Dawn.
No, that's Light of Motiram.
No, listen. I can see the text. Wild. The text says Horizon Zero Dawn.
It's a wild thing because I feel like, it for a long time, cloning is something you do on mobile because it's relatively cheap to do. Mm-hmm. This can't be it. I mean, I guess maybe AI is just really plunging the cost of doing high polish cloning, and we'll see more of it going forward. But
who's going to buy this?
Nobody.
Wait. No, sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. I'm still almost in shockish. Give me a second here. There is a trailer.
Yes.
We need to watch this.
Yes.
We need to watch this. Wait a second. What? I can't believe this is real. Wait a second. This was 6 hours ago.
Yes, I know. That's why it's not in the newsletter.
What the hell is this? Give me a second. I'm just gonna bring up the screen. Here we go. This is Horizon Zero Dawn in another
10-cent Zero Dawn.
10-cent Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many creative people in the world, and why robots again? Like, why? I have so many questions.
Because it's cool. I think I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but what's the explanation in this world? Like, we know the explanation in that other world.
I mean, for all we know, it's just the same thing. You know.
There's a bit of a Pokemon-ish feeling as well. I feel like.
Is it?
We're looking at some.
Oh wait,
that was Star Wars. Wait a second.
This is Star Wars.
This
is Frozen for me, so I'm just looking at Aspire.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So
but no, the Star Wars actually just popped up. That's pretty Star Wars. Yeah.
Scorpion.
Yep.
There was a bit of Breath of the Wild in there, I feel like, to a certain extent. Okay, this is Horizon. Come on. Yes, I mean, the different art style, whatever, but...
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're trying to make the Genshin impact of Horizon Zero Dawn's.
What? Oh, that, when he's plunging the sword into the monster or the robot and trying to, like, pull the pieces. That's Horizon Zero Dawn. What the hell?
And a bit of Monster Hunter also.
Monster Hunter as well, yes.
Yeah. Because that was the thing about Genshin, was that, like, when they first advertised it, everyone was like, this is the Breath of the Wild clone. And then when it came out, they're like, well, this is, definitely there's a lot of Breath of the Wild in here, but there's also basically everything else. And it seems like that's what they're going for here.
Do we know when the release date is for this thing?
No, I don't know. I've not gone further.
Wait a second.
Interesting.
I need to check the comments on YouTube now. Like, this is so fresh. Yeah. Okay, highest top comment. I'm sorry for doing this. Top comment: Horizon Zero Shame. I don't know, man. Yes. At least we know it won't require a PSN account to play. I mean, I love these people. Okay, I mean, this is absolutely something to keep our eyes on. I'm actually still, like, shocked how close this is to everything else we've seen. Yeah. Thank you, Manu, for making our day here.
And let's not forget that Guerrilla Games is currently developing online version of Horizon, right? So I think they are probably the one most in shock with this, because they might not be the first to develop a Horizon Zero Dawn live service game.
Do you think we'll see that come to fruition? Because the mighty Naughty Dog canceled The Last of Us Online, which I actually am still confused to this day, because I was personally looking forward to that game a lot. Based on the first Last of Us Online,
people liked that thing. Ago. That was cool, but like maybe it
was unique. It was extremely unique.
I mean, there was this time around the time of Last of Us Online, we had a lot of like interesting single player games with multiplayer modes. Like that was around the time of Assassin's Creed,
Uncharted,
and Splinter Cell had an asymmetric mode that was pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that.
Back in the day when games had to be quote-unquote complete, so they had to check the boxes and have multiple modes of play. Gentlemen, just to be conscious of time, I'm going to skip on the next two items. I'll just read them quickly and then we'll go to the trends. Mass Effect Trilogy, director Casey Hudson. Apparently he had a studio and now it's shutting down. I'm actually very not concerned. I'm very curious to understand why that specific studio shut down, because their goal was to make live service story games. Sorry, apologies, not live service, just story games. And then the other item on the news, Mortal Kombat 1 DLC is canceled. But is any comments on the Casey Hudson studio? Why that?
Did they just run out of money? I thought they said that.
Okay.
I mean, at some point where, as I was saying, if you come to a gate in the development and it doesn't look good enough, and then that people like us pulling the plug because it's not gonna make the 20 million they were hoping they would do.
Yeah, and I think that's like pretty, we have all these stories about games getting rebooted over and over and over again, and I think a lot of the time people are starting to realize that maybe that's too expensive to do.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that maybe some VCs that have invested in these studios, they didn't have the expertise in the industry when they made their bets, right? Because all these are bets. They are all betting that they will find the next big game. So yeah, ultimately,
what they needed was a solid evaluation service to help them out, I think.
By the way, this is interesting. So Mass Effect 3 cost roughly 40 million to make. I'm assuming Mass Effect 1 maybe was 20-ish million, 30-ish million, which are pretty modest numbers. I think they're pretty okay numbers.
Now, yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah. And I wonder if the game that Casey, the other Casey, not me, was working on was in that range. But the game was just not I guess quality-wise wasn't at par.
I mean, if it was more of a story-driven game, you see games like Alan Wake, like Control, like some other games, they don't even make maybe 5 million while being very good. So you're like, your budget needs to be tight if you're only gonna sell 3 to 5 million units.
Well, and to your earlier point, like if they're funding the studio by working with VCs, you often just have to be careful who you're working with there. That they might not understand the company as it continues to go. I'm not saying that this wasn't the right decision. Maybe it was, but that's always going to be a possibility.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, let's move over to the trends. And thank you, by the way, for the insight. No Man's Sky, 8 years after its rocket launch, finally hits very positive reviews. I'm actually surprised they stuck with it. I mean, they made bank when it launched. Obviously, I was one of the suckers who bought it, and I actually bought the collector's edition or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. But they did turn it around. I gave up on playing it, but they did turn it around.
Yes.
Any comments on that?
The game has almost nothing to do with vanilla, right? It's just vanilla was maybe 20% of the current experience, and I think it's good. We have enough bad news in recent weeks, right? Sometimes we can celebrate the pugnacity and the commitment to some studios, some creative people. So I think it's great. It's a great achievement, and there is a way, right? There is a way of redemption. Don't. Yep. We have the same. We have the same with every Battlefield. Every time there's always redemption after 1 year, and other games that follow that path. So it is possible. It doesn't mean that every game can be salvaged. Sometimes the best solution is to shut them down, but in some cases there can be successes.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, No Man's Sky is such the archetypal version of that. It's basically a verb, right? Like that's just. I was like, can we No Man's Sky this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move over to the next item, my friends, which is Koei Tecmo plans to go from 2,500 to 5,000 employees and lean further into AAA games, lowering expectations of mobile market.
I mean, I will buy Dynasty. I will buy Dynasty Warriors twice a year if they allow me to. So I feel good about this.
You talk about we're waiting for a movie instead of Shinobi, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've got plenty of Three Kingdoms movies. Oh, that's right. They are making a Dynasty Warriors movie, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, Koei Tecmo has been very Japanese centric, right? Japan centric. So it's good to see that. I mean, with some successes, I think in arcade mostly. It's another good news, right? Some people they realize there is potential for their IPs to go outside of their usual markets, and that's kind of cool.
And I forgot that they're doing those Team Ninja games too. I liked Wolong was cool. Speaking, maybe I just really like Three Kingdoms games, but Wolong I like that game.
So I'm on Wikipedia just trying to check the list of games. Obviously, when you scroll this thing, holy shit, I think there's maybe 1,000 games here. I don't know, but they go back all the way to 1979. Yeah. But just looking at the past 5 years, let's say, some of the games that they launched for those who are unaware. And there's a lot of Team Ninja games here, actually.
They've not been this one.
Sorry, come again?
One have not been launched. The one you're looking at, they've not
The
been
one
launched.
I'm looking at right here, 2025. Oh wow, that's a couple of them. Let me go back then.
Yep.
Rise of the Ronin. Did that thing do anything? By the way, that's such a. For me, though, I'm just confused because that for me was like Ghost of Tsushima, but like not Ghost of Tsushima.
I think it was
Yeah.
more of a Dark Souls type of game than Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not sure it
Yeah.
was open world, but I might be wrong. I didn't play it.
I think I think it was like a cross. It was Dark Souls combat with, but it was an open world samurai simulator.
Yeah, Warlong was appeared a bit later after White Arts.
Wait, this Wolong is not the same thing as what's that other Chinese game?
It's not Wukong.
Wukong. It's not Wukong.
No, Wolong was like it is. So it is a AAA game based on a classical Chinese novel. So I can see how you might be confused. But Wolong was sort of, Team Ninja are always like playing with what From Software is doing with the name escapes me, the one with the white samurai doing stuff. But Neo. But so Wolong was kind of their take on Sekiro. That it was definitely it was less parry heavy than Sekiro, but it was a From style game, a Team Ninja game with a more involved parry system.
And then looking at the rest of the list, there's a lot of Atelier type games. Those are RPGs, and of course you mentioned Dynasty Wars as well. Cool. Oh yeah, Wild Hearts. That game was published by EA, and it was almost a take on Monster Hunter-ish.
Yeah. I really got anywhere, did it?
But it didn't make the splash that we were hoping for. Probably still worth playing. I will.
It was a bit. It had technical issues at launch. Let's put it that way. It was kind of a bad beat. Really at the really beginning, before I think patch day 1 or patch 2, it was really unplayable in some instances. So that didn't help to make a splash at launch. But I think it's not Monster Hunter, of course, but it was a good competitor, like to get maybe 5-10% market share. That could have been possible, but I think the execution wasn't there.
Final note on Koei Tecmo. Going from 2,500 to 5,000 employees, do we believe this is mostly in Japan? These jobs were probably open.
That would be my guess.
Yeah, and until they need to be smarter with the Western markets, right? And they need people that really know, that have the culture of this market. They cannot know everything from Japan, from being based in Japan.
Gentlemen, I'll shift gears. We have the next item on the list. So I'd love for you to explain this. Gaming's streaming wars are here for real now. So I guess the streaming here is referencing cloud, like playing games on the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So PlayStation just started doing some streaming on Portal. It used to be that Portal could stream from your local PS5, and now it can stream from the cloud. So I feel like what's happening here is it's an expansion of the whole kind of Xbox PlayStation thing right now. That Xbox is going full software, right? They still make these box shaped things, but it's not what they're focusing on, as we've seen. They want to just put streaming stuff where streaming stuff can get, and Sony is still always got to have a foot in hardware, because hardware has done really well for them. So their streaming efforts are focused on a piece of plastic in a different way.
I feel like what you just said, sorry, Manu. I feel like what you just said, Dave, is that Xbox is the Netflix of games in the future.
Yeah, and Sony is the Netflix with the discs, the old one. This metaphor doesn't work, but I wanted to try.
Manu.
Yeah.
I think we are too old to really be able to take enough distance to judge that trend. I mean, personally, I don't get it, but I understand that the new generation that has been it's a always online generation right now, right? For them, they don't conceive a world where there is no network connection. So it means that they're always able to stream for wherever they are. They are also used to their first gaming platform usually is mobile. So they're fine to play on a smaller screen with a mobile interface. So I think there's no added value for this generation to really have like a hardware as such. Dedicated
and I think that it's a super long trend. Basically, is that the streaming, it takes place at decision points, and it'll get stronger and be more capable of doing this theoretically, I guess, as time goes on. But it'll always catch people at that moment. It's like, do I, maybe they moved, maybe their kid is like, do I really need to buy a console? And so I think that's like, it's going to be really, really slow as it picks different people up at those moments, because it's not like a big launch. It's not like we're going to show it up and be like, oh, I want that now. It's just going to be kind of running in the background. But there's going to be this moment where you buy a TV, and that TV comes loaded with cloud stuff, and you have a controller that works on it, and then you're like, oh, should I buy the new Xbox? And you think, yeah. And that's how it's going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So, gentlemen, speaking of portable devices, I had to, of course, pull something out from behind me. But the next item on the list, Sony Interactive Entertainment working on portable PS5. So, I didn't read it before I actually pulled my Vita, which is an amazing device.
Love the Vita. Love the Vita.
Absolutely. But tell us, what should we be learning about this item? About this news item, by the way.
For me, it's like a rumor that comes and goes very regularly. We know that there is a market for that. I would say I put it as a rumor, but there's not that much to say, except wait and see. Yes, maybe at some point they will come with a portable platform. Yes, Xbox has mentioned the same. Phil Spencer again, like 1 month ago, he said, "Yeah, we are thinking there is something coming." Yeah, the thing is, what's the added value compared to a streaming? I mean, a hardware one compared to a streaming platform. So I think that's the question. But they see the kind of success. I don't know if it's an overwhelming success of the Steam Deck, but at least it's an interesting alternative. The question is always, are we talking about a device where you can play outside of your home network? Yes or no? If yes, what about batteries and everything? I don't know. I don't know if the device.
I think it's a bad idea.
I know a lot of hardcore people who take their Steam Deck with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder, for example, for Nintendo and Nintendo Switch, I wonder if there's any data that tells us the percentage of people spending majority of their time at home playing it versus people spending majority of the time carrying the console outside of their home and playing it outside.
They might be playing it at home, but not on a TV screen. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I frequently choose to play things that I feel like are good Switch games in handheld mode at home. Also, like, my kids are watching Octonauts Reign of Fire or Octonauts The Caves of Sakaktoon, then I can still play games.
What can be good for if Sony or Xbox, they come with a portable platform? It might be good for indie games, the games that are not relying heavily on graphics or on like the power of the platform as such, because then it becomes like the Switch. Switch is a great platform to play your indie games now.
As was the Vita. Like, I remember playing Mutant Blobs Attack on Vita. It was great. And Thomas Was Alone. I played that one on Vita as well.
So I think that a platform like this would help to sell the cheaper games, but I don't think it's gonna sell AAA games unless they are exclusive to a portable platform. Like, I think there was some Metal Gear Solid games in the past that were exclusive to the Vita.
Portable.
Yeah. Or not Vita, but PSP. PSP had those, yeah.
But other than that, I don't think that if they don't have system sellers, it will remain niche.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll shift gears one more times on the trends. And this one I'm actually confused about, so I think you're going to be the perfect person to tell us why we should care about this. This is what the article is saying. It's time to admit it. Unreal Engine 5 has been kind of rubbish in most games so far, and I'm worried about bigger upcoming projects. Why is this a trend? Or a real?
That's what I put in italic because I'm not saying that this is just the title of the piece, right?
Yep.
I think it's
What
supposed
is it? This is from
to
VentureBeat.
it's
Ruiz.
supposed to start discussions, right? It's a clicky article, but
Gotcha.
I would say still the trend is that more and more games are being developed on the Unreal Engine. I think, yeah.
But is this an engine thing or is this a developer thing?
Well, that's the question, the chicken and egg discussion. Is it because the developer don't spend enough time to polish their game, or is it because the Unreal Engine is fundamentally difficult to handle, right? I think that's, I don't have a perspective. I'm not a developer and I'm not Epic.
Yeah, I feel like this is such a hard
true
one.
that there has been often like new games, they suffer the same issues because they are on the Unreal Engine, and there are something that don't seem to be fixed at the engine level, and this problem keep coming. So, but there's no alternative anymore, and the independent studio they cannot develop their own game engine anymore neither. So it's kind of stuck with a few platforms that studio can use, and I think all these big new AAA studios that are come out of nowhere, they just develop on Unreal because at least they don't have to fund the development on an engine that can take way more years than just developing a game within. Based on the Unreal Engine. So I think that the market is suffering from the fact that the Unreal Engine 5 is not perfect somehow.
Gotcha. I know that Godot started picking up steam with the indie.
Yeah, that started bouncing up around the time of Unity's licensing fee problems.
Any other comments about engines, or should I move on to the rumors?
Rumors.
No.
Let's talk about rumors then. Dark Souls 3 Remaster is in development. It's claimed.
I don't know if I want to talk about it. It's just the rumor of the rumor. Oh no, it's sorry. No. I forgot because there is also a rumor that today something about Bloodborne will happen. So Bloodborne is the mother of all
you can always get a good Bloodborne rumor going. Let's see. I mean, Bloodborne's one of my favorite games ever.
And I would probably put my cash towards saying that Bloodborne is probably the best Souls type game.
Bloodborne announces maintenance scheduled for PlayStation's 30th anniversary.
Yeah. Exactly on the same day as they expected to have like some kind of reveal, potential PlayStation tease, which will probably not happen, but you never know.
I would be interested how frequently Bloodborne is doing server maintenance these days. Is this a common thing, or what? If it's an uncommon thing, then yeah, okay, maybe we can read it.
There's a lot of opium.
Yeah, hopium. Yeah, that is the predecessor to copium.
Yeah.
By the way, I think I'm seeing another trend today, and with the news stories you've picked up, Manu, which is game clones, I guess. So we talked about Wild Hearts, we talked about that Horizon Zero Dawn game that is not Horizon Zero Dawn, and then the next item on the rumors, there is apparently a Ubisoft Animal Crossing inspired game. What can we learn about that one?
And when you talk about Ubisoft, they have a tendency to try their own version of existing games, right? They try their Call of Duty version with X Defiant. They try some extraction shooters. So they usually trying to mimic some existing trend. And in this case, they are trying to do something with the Animal Crossing genre. There is a very high probability that it will not succeed, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Animal Crossing. Sorry, I just looked at my phone. Animal Crossing came out a while ago, so theoretically, there's like a opportunity for people, but it's a tough one. Like Animal Crossing's a big thing, and that thing did not look a lot like Animal Crossing at the end of the day. Which
However,
is better
you
for
could
them.
argue,
it's not clone, but yeah.
Sorry, Dave. You could also argue that there are no are there any Animal Crossing-like games on other platforms?
Cold War.
I mean, there's a lot of it. Like the whole cozy genre is kind of hard to pull apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll move over to the numbers then. Cyberpunk sales top 30 million units. Phantom Liberty sells 8 million. I'm assuming Phantom Liberty is referencing a DLC for Cyberpunk.
Yeah, well, DLC and sort of a whole kind of a big story DLC that came along, a big revamp.
Is it worth going back and playing Cyberpunk today?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good game.
I did endure when it came out. Like in the first week, I was like, obviously one of those suckers who bought it the first week. However, even though I will say this, even though I had to restart my game every single hour I played on the PlayStation 4, I still finished the game and had a good time.
Yeah, I did too. I did on PC, and it ran fine, to be honest. I had a big honking PC. But yeah, it was like it wasn't like exceptional, but it was like a really good, nice looking open world game.
Okay, and speaking of games that are pulling the drug under you, I was kind of like, was hoping Fallout 76 was an actual full like Fallout game. It's an online game.
Yeah, but it got No Man's Sky.
It got No Man's Sky, but it also got 21 million players.
Yeah, due to its No Man's Sky. Like, I think it's a decent game now. People like it.
There were some really cool ideas as well, like you can nuke entire areas and like you could affect the world. But okay, tell us what do we need to learn about Fallout or the numbers of Fallout?
I mean, Fallout's a strong franchise, and I think people kind of forget that sometimes. And that helped buoy them through a difficult phase so they could fix it up. But like, Fallout TV show did super well because people like Fallout, and that helps.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's very easy in the beginning to point fingers when a game is not launching in perfect state, but this is a marathon rather than a sprint, right? It's so we see who wins at the end. 21 million is an interesting number. And just to finish on Cyberpunk, I think there's a lot of publishers that always ask themselves, what is the attach rate of a DLC? And here you have a perfect example. So it's 8 million out of 30 million. That's 25 something %, which is higher than the average. That's also
almost a third.
Yeah.
Which is great. And that is people should be happy with that, because ultimately speaking, if you're making the core happy, and I think that is a fair number. A third is a very fair number.
Yeah, that's a super good number.
And when you start from, I would be curious to see the shadow of the R3 number.
I was about to say.
Also.
Yes.
When you start with an install base of 30 million, even 10% is nice, right?
Absolutely.
When you're at 8 million units, which game is selling 8 million units?
Yeah, seriously.
Just that's super high.
If you can, while I'm going to go over to the next item, if you can check how many DLCs the Shadow of the Earth Tree sold, that would be interesting. Okay, next item on the list. I guess for the people living in Dublin, they should be happy. Dublin firm behind Baldur's Gate posts 249 million profit after runaway success. That's of course Larian Studios.
Yeah. I did not realize they were Dublin based. I thought they were in Belgium for some reason. I guess they're everywhere now.
Yeah. I mean, this is the parent company, right? So they might just be the owner of the studio. No, the studio, I believe, in Belgium. All the guys are in Belgium.
Oh,
I should know
backed by Tencent as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's backed by Tencent at some point.
Yep. Okay. Cool stuff. Here we go. I think we have the last item on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were going to be done with this specific console, but I guess, hey, this is awesome. PlayStation 2 officially surpasses 160 million
I saw
sales.
that one. That's a fun one.
Yeah, retaining its best-selling console crown. So, is PS2 the best-selling console of all time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a second. How the hell did 10 million additional units get sold post or since 2011?
Yeah, how does this? When did they stop making them? They can't possibly be manufacturing them.
I know, historically speaking, South America, Africa, maybe some parts of Asia and Middle East, do usually buy second generation, or rather older generation consoles, and they kind of lag behind by a generation almost-ish. That is, of course, a big contributor, and I think even PlayStation or Sony has a factory in Brazil specifically for PlayStation because there's these import taxes. At least that was how it was back in the day.
Yeah, and Brazil is a big enough market to justify that, certainly.
Yeah. Anything else we want to comment on with regards to the PS2?
No.
Love PS2.
I remember PS2. I remember playing SOCOM online.
Yeah, you had to buy a little adapter in that whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What was that? 2001-ish?
Yeah, something like that. That was like the first one. First online console game in that way.
And there was a convoluted setup to get it online, but it was, it was doable, and you could play SOCOM. And speaking of SOCOM, I mean, that franchise, somebody maybe needs to look at that. Gentlemen, we have reached the end of the Game Industry Executive Summary.
We have. It's been a wonderful time. I'm glad to have the band back together here.
Thank you, Manu, for bringing to our attention the new Horizon Zero Dawn game that we all need to play now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. For those who are listening, of course, as usual, if you want to do anything for us, do the social stuff, the liking, the sharing, all that stuff. More importantly, subscribe to our newsletter. Don't watch this podcast. Don't listen to it. Go to the newsletter and subscribe to that thing. And that's, you can find it, mightydiamonds.substack.com. That's where you can find it.
It doesn't take nearly as long as the podcast to consume.
Yes. Thank you, Dave. In under a minute, you will know exactly what's happening in the industry. And you'll have to, play one of those games where you have to guess what Manu thinks. But you'll get there, and you'll get the summary.
It's our meta game.
Yes. And then, of course, our monthly. We just released a monthly a couple days ago. Really cool stuff. Dave is heading that up. And with that said, this has been fun. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Stay easy.
Bye.